No. Wait a minute. Let me. Oh, what are they doing? Let me see. Let me see here. Hold on. No, that's not it. Bear with me if you would, please.
All right, we are back, and you are listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and today is our men-only discussion, and we are now joined with our co-host Karriem Hameed, and we've got some panelists on the line as we talk about the issue of should the government pay blacks reparations for slavery. And our co-host Karriem Hameed is going to play an opening.
Yeah, here we go.
Audio.
All right. Everyone hold on.
So here we are.
For patience, I bring you now Dr. Martin Luther King, his comments on land grants that was given.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land.
Here we go. Okay.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, today many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with. This is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check. At the same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Just that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges. Not only that, they provided county agents for their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farm. Not only that, but many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. This is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
Okay. I hope that provides some context for the conversation that we plan to have on affirmative action. I have something else I want to share with you. Reparations for the Japanese citizens in this country. The last Japanese internment camp closed in March of 1946. President Gerald Ford officially repealed Executive Order 9066 in 1976. And in 1988, Congress issued a formal apology and passed the Civil Liberties Act, awarding $20,000 each to over 80,000 Japanese Americans as reparations for their treatment, for their internment. Japanese were interned in internment camps during World War II. The government recognized their error, and they actually paid $20,000 each to over 80,000 Japanese Americans as reparations for their treatment. So that shows that we're not asking for something that has not already been given to other citizens of this country. Whether it takes place or not, I feel we have a right to ask for some type of reparations. Reparations mean the act of repairing, to repair, but it's done to repair a wrong. Indemnification for a loss or a damage. The world, they asked Germany for reparations. The Allies, for World War I, they demanded reparations for property damage done in France. Reparations, satisfaction for injury. So I know for a fact that we have been injured in vital areas of our lives due to the cruel institution of slavery. I want to ask Brother Abdul Shaheed if he would introduce himself and share with us a few opening statements, if you would. Brother Abdul Shaheed.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is Abdul Shaheed, one of the hosts at AM 360. We host a program called Optimal Health, and our health is mandatory. If we don't take care of our health, who's going to do it for us? So there's health on many different levels. Educational health, you have to deal with economic health, and this is part of what we're talking about this morning. Reparation entails all of these health is part of our society. And these things have been denied from our people. Hundreds of years of enslavement have been denied from our people because it gave someone else a head start. 400 years of head start. This is what has happened. In terms of education, we're at the bottom. In terms of business ownership, we're at the bottom. In terms of health care, we're at the bottom. All these different avenues that's designed to create an ideal society to uplift people, we're expected to lift ourselves up by our own bootstraps when we have no boots. They were taken from us. Opportunities were taken from us. So we know that the government here in America is not against reparations because our brother just shared many examples where have received reparation. And the people from the Holocaust, the Jews, that we had nothing to do with as a country, we even chipped in to help those people to receive reparations so they can go and establish a homeland for themselves. And we even helped them to do that. So we were promised 40 acres and a mule, and that was just not denied. We had received that great opportunity. I don't think our people would be in the predicament that we find ourselves in today. So reparation has been issued to others. And if you deny reparations for African American people here in America for what has happened to repair the damage that was done, no one in the world should deserve reparation. You know, no one in the world should deserve reparation if reparation is denied from African Americans. I think we're in a position today where we have to demand reparation from not only the government, but the corporations who benefited. There are many corporations still exist today that benefited from the effort of our people by taking their free labor to establish this country. We have so much in terms of evidence and historical data that we should not be denied reparation. Those are my opening remarks and statement. So, ma'am, certainly appreciate you inviting us to be a part of this tower. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you. Brother William Karriem, if you would. William Karriem, if you would have an opening statement, please. Take your phone off of mute.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Historically speaking, I agree with what the first panelist has said as far as what the circumstance and situation is. And there are many more examples that can be given regarding that, regarding reparations or repair. The government had something to do with it. The culture that was created had something to do with it. Law enforcement, government, law enforcement is government. So that had something to do with it. Businesses, slave owners had something to do with it. You say, you're free, and then, just say, get off of my property. You don't have any place to go. And I'm talking about forefathers didn't have any place to go. Next thing you know, the government or terrorists, you pick you up for loitering. Right, because you don't have a place. All you can do is stand out on the street. You don't have any places you can go. But in the process of loitering, all of a sudden you become a ward of the state, and you work for free. So there's a lot that's there. I don't know much more to say regarding it because there's been efforts. There are some efforts that are going on today in some states that are trying to address the issue as far as reparations is concerned. We just have to see, where it will go. And I'll tell you this here, from a person who I wonder, how what threat did the Japanese hold over the American government that they would give them that money? What threat? Because what threat was held over America to make the Germans or to do whatever it was that they did? What threat was held? Because the human being is selfish, and I think a lot of times with this, even with the 40 acres and the mules thing, that was supposed to be a government mandated, and then another person comes in and says, no, we're not going to do it. And even though it's been centuries since that's happened, it still hasn't been corrected and addressed. Why? Because there hasn't been, the power, the threat, the power, the consistency to ask for it just hasn't been there. So I'm not really, I'm not really hopeful as far as reparations is concerned. I really am not. Even though, like I come from I can trace my family history back from Africa into Portsmouth, Virginia. and being sold to the Joneses, and I can trace my history back to that point. Didn't have anything in Portsmouth, Virginia, and had to leave to come to North to just try to survive and make a living. So there's just so much that's involved in this, and it's not like government doesn't know it. It's not like the American citizens don't know it. They do. It's just that there's a selfishness. Why should we give it to you? They won't even give. The government tried to give students, they tried to give them reparations as far as their student loans is concerned. They fought against that. The black farmers were approved to have some money from the government, and it went through. Oh no! Some people said, "Well, no, they shouldn't get it," and now it's in court. So it's not like this problem and this issue is not there. Some people get it because there is some kind of pressure that's put on the government to make them. But as far as African Americans is concerned, I don't see it happen. I really don't. I don't see it happen. So that's my statement.
Yes. All right. Thank you. All right. And stuff to Henry Haseed, some opening statements from you, if you would, please.
Assalamu alaikum. Comments that have been made so far also, but I'd just like to add, because we still have people in this country who, as Brother Williams was saying, will deny that reparations or a injury has been done. One of the things in insurance that they say that if I damage your property or you as a person, then I should be responsible for making you whole again to where you were before the incident, before the accident or whatever happened. And, but when it comes to African American and our history here of the slavery experience, and even after the slavery, as Brother William was saying, even we got case studies of the black farmers who was not in slavery, chattel slavery at that time, that were denied for the whole reason of destroying them as a people. And so we got history after history after history of these things that has happened to the African American. So it's no denying today whether or not damage has been done. I think the biggest thing that we have to see in demand is that we be made whole again and discuss in our way that we will be made whole again. I got my grandchildren here. But that would be my opening statement. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. I thank all of you for your opening statement.
Assalamu alaikum.
Your very thought-provoking, praise be to Almighty God, and they are well taken. I'm looking to see if Naima is with us at this time. I don't see her as of yet connected here with me in 360. But let me share with you my opening. My commentary concerning reparations. Well, hold on one moment. Naima's contacting me by phone. Let me play this public service announcement. I'll be right back.
God's peace be upon you. God's love be upon you. God's compassion
Yes.
be upon you.
Yes, just want to know. I am on. Texted you the number 312-721-6428. That's the number that I'm on your switchboard. And also, yeah, I texted you that. And also, Warren Houston is on our switchboard, and he's ready to come on. 721 6428. Yes.
Strategic Family Institute, the bookstore. May we share completely humanity.
Okay,
in
I think
spirit
Bianchi has a
and
statement
in
after the other.
form,
Because
from
others
thought
have
to
spoken.
action.
Okay.
God's peace,
All right.
God's love, God's compassion. Assalamu alaikum.
And we are back. All right. I have spoken with Naima, and we have another invited guest on her platform from Brother Warren Houston. Naima, if you would open up his mic so he could share an opening statement with us.
All right, good morning. How you doing? Can you hear me, brother?
Let me see. Wait a minute.
Yes, he's.
Okay, all right. I'm opening that Naima's mic. Okay, there we go.
All right, now we're connected. Wa alaikum salam. We've got a couple other callers that want to speak also, but I'll make sure Warren gets his opening statement in first, as he's got to leave at 8:15. So we want to make sure he gets his thought in before he has to go.
I look forward to hearing from Brother Warren Houston.
Good morning. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yeah, we.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to make sure you all can hear me. First of all, I'd like to thank Naima for inviting me to speak on this topic, and I hate I really have to run because I really like to dig in and get more deeper into this topic than time will allow me. But the first thing that I want to bring to everyone's attention is I think one of the things that mess us up as a people, when we hear reparations, the first thing that comes to our mind is a check. Think about money. And, we feel like, hey, we owe money. Reparation, y'all should so noise because I'm driving. The reparation is a matter of law. And one thing that I can say is that when we talk about reparations, we don't talk about it from a legal standpoint. We talk about it from an emotional standpoint. As we begin to talk about what happened, we begin to talk about what other countries have received and how they have how they treated us. And we haven't even first looked at the definition of reparation. I think we need to first start there, because whether we're paid reparations or not, that is, again, a matter of law to be dealt with in a court of law. So therefore, you have to go back to its definition. And without being able to really get into the definition because I'm driving, basically, reparations is paid to casualties of war due to war. And so I have to ask you, based on that definition alone, and you can go to get a better definition of it, are we casualties of war? Or are we casualties of agreements that were made between African tribes and the Europeans that so-called started America? That's the first question I have. And so, based on that alone, if you go back and look at the definition, we would not be casualties of war. That is my opinion. Count reparations, just based on definition alone. But secondly, explain reparations. If you understand what the definition is, go back and look at the United States. The United States itself never owned slaves. So the United States would feel themselves not to be responsible because the ownership of slaves were by individuals and private corporations, not the United States government. When the United States government came into existence, it was dealing with the slavery problem that was already in place.
And as the United States was formed, it took them, I think, somewhere between 82 to 89 years to resolve this issue, because you had some states that were that wanted slavery and some that were against slavery. And what was known as the Articles of Association, and another document you can look up, which was the founding document that started this country. And most people think it's the Declaration of Independence, but it's not. It's the Articles of Association, which was written before the Declaration of Independence. And you can see the agreements among the colonies then that there were disagreements between concerning the slave and the slave states, those that were for it and those who were against it. So that's my opening comment.
Thank you, Warren. If I may share with you the definition of reparations from Webster's dictionary here. It says the act of repairing. Repair. What is done, an act of repairing. Repairing what is done to repair a wrong. To repair a wrong. Whether that wrong was done in the act of war or not, a declared war, it is the acknowledgement that an offense has been committed, and it left those that were offended in a condition that requires repair. This government, they issued laws that impaired the freedom of movement, the freedom to earn things from their own labor. We can look at what happened after Reconstruction. The laws called Black Code, the Black Code laws. Read those, and you will see how we were injured. This country, it was founded on slavery. They issued a declaration that the indigenous slaves, the Caucasian slaves, could work off their time in slavery or buy their own freedom. But the African American was left out of that. He was left in perpetual slavery due to the color of his skin. That was this government that did that. So, we have to admit that an injury has been made, whether it was a declared war or not.
Can I
we were
just for a second, brother? The definition issued from a Webster's dictionary, they will not be using a Webster's dictionary for the law. You have to use a dictionary to find that word. And again, as I stated earlier, again, to relate back to motion. One of the things that you go to law school, they teach you how to become a stoic. That is to remove motion that was body. And I do understand it. I don't want anybody to understand the previous emotion behind it, because I do. I'm Black myself, so I do understand.
No, I'm not speaking of emotion, my brother. I'm speaking from fact, not the emotion. I'm speaking from a position.
The definition you just gave is wrong. It will not be used. Okay. They're not going to use the Webster's dictionary. So the definition alone you just gave is not the correct definition. They will be using a
legal definition, not just a Western definition, and it would not confuse. And I'm not saying, again, you talk about what has been done or wrong has been done, but are we casualties of war? That's the first question you have to ask.
Yeah.
Was there a war going on, or was there negotiations between the African tribes and the white men that came over to the conference? That's number one. So this is the same situation where we have to understand, where people don't understand the legal game. When you get into some type of criminal situation, and then you're told that you have a right to remain silent, anything you say can and will be used against you. And those of us don't know that. We run our mouths and end up sinking ourselves deeper because we don't know how to play the game. The same thing with the KKK. You had the KKK, and eventually laws were made where they couldn't do the criminal acts that they were doing. But instead of furthering that aspect of the sheets, they just took the sheets off and they became the judges and the police officers, things of that nature. And that's something that we haven't done as a people. We haven't begun to educate ourselves and remove back from the past hurts and pain and placed ourselves in a position governmentally to where we can make the changes that need to be made for our community. That we haven't done as a whole.
Well, if I may say this regarding the definition of reparations. First of all, reparations, the Webster definition is a legitimate source. Now, and it can be brought into a court of law as a legitimate source. Now, there might be word salad that goes on when it comes to other definitions regarding reparations. Can I finish what I'm saying, brother? Can I finish what I'm saying, sir? Can I finish what I'm saying? Can I finish what I'm saying? Well, please don't cut me off. I'll be brought to the point of law. Can I finish what I'm saying? Can I finish what I'm saying? You can finish what. Can I finish what I'm saying? If you know, respected you, and you gave your definition. Please respect me when I give mine. I appreciate it. Okay. Now, as I said, now there may be other definitions regarding reparations, and especially with particular circumstances and situations, as you said, as far as crimes of war. That's another definition that they have used, okay, as far as reparations is concerned, when they gave the reparations to Japanese and others, because they defined it as reparations should be due because of acts that were committed during war. But, you can't just dismiss and say that, like Webster's, which is a legitimate source, that can't be used in a court of law. Come on, man. That's not going to fly. I'm finished.
Brother, I have a law degree. I work in the courts. You will not bring a Webster dictionary definition up in a legal courtroom. There is a legal definition, and Webster's is not going to cut it.
Well, I know one thing. We all can bear witness that an injury was made, regardless of what book we may utilize and come from, who wrote the book. We have to bear witness to the crimes that was committed against us as a people. I don't care who wrote a book. I don't care what book we draw from. We are living fact and living truth. And when we look at the institution of slavery and what was done, those are facts. Those are not emotional statements. Those are points of fact. Women were raped. Men were raped. We were prisoners. I think it was Brother Obadiah a few weeks ago. He said we need to change that, for we were enslaved. No, we were held prisoners against our will. Against our will. We were captive prisoners. And I don't want to get caught up in semantics and a play with words. This is too serious to allow anyone to play with us with words. This man can take words and worm his way from out of almost anything. But these are points of fact. This is historical fact of what happened to us. So regardless of what definition someone else has written, we are the victims. Our mere presence is enough for me as proof of what was done.
Assalamu alaikum. If you want to take a caller, I think we have Priyanki on the line. If you want to take a caller on our line.
Okay, let me share this public service announcement, and inshallah, we'll be right back. But I believe we're kind of off from.
Well, I mean, we can wait till the top of the hour if you like, because we got about 11 more minutes before.
All right. All right, if Kianki would, yes, I look forward to hearing from you, my brother.
Okay, 314-677. Your mic is open.
Naima, you said you wanted me to be on the panels on Wednesday. Nobody never called me back. But have an opposing view.
Okay.
But I've heard a lot of things and reasons, and I can only discuss one at a time because people will give a reason or event that covers decades and sometimes centuries. So it's impossible to make an accurate discussion. Now, what Mr. Houston said about the dictionary, Webster Dictionary come in effect in the early 1800s, and they don't use Webster Dictionary terminology in law. And then again, which edition are you talking about? Because some editions don't have the words that we use today. That's a big problem. You try to take today's ideas and logics and try to take them back centuries. It don't happen. I heard somebody early on say something about Japanese. Japanese were U.S. citizens in this country, and they were not afforded their, at that time, Fourth Amendment due process. That's why they had a claim. The U.S. government done an action against them, which I approve of because we was at war with their nation. Blood is thicker than water. And you can't have that many people in your country when you're fighting against their homeland. That's a dumb thing to do. Germany lost the war, and the rules of nations at that time, if you lose a war, then you got to pay the reparation. If you win the war, the spoils of the war, the spoils of what they call a long time ago called booty, then they go to the victors. 40 acres and a mule. There was no mule in the offer by Takumi Sherman, who didn't have a right to make that offer anyway. And for the simple purpose is that the land belonged to Indians. The land didn't belong to whites. The land belonged to Indians. Some of your 5 states in the South was Indian land that through treaties and also purchases ended up coming out of the hands of the Indians into basically who has them today. We talk about as a matter of fact, your first slave catchers was Indians. They were not whites, as people say that it came in to be called police. And some of them made a lot of money. It only makes sense. They knew the land. If you was a runaway, you in a foreign land, you don't know your way, they would know which path you would take. So that's how they would catch you. So, I could go on and on. There haven't been no U.S. pay for the German, or shall I say the Jewish Holocaust that occurred in those death camps over in Europe. The United States didn't pay no benefits toward that. They may have helped to orchestrate some of those things and to carry them out. I think the last one that they helped France negotiate something. But why would America pay for what Germany had done to its citizens at the time? And today, blacks are biological mix. To say black slaves didn't get paid is not true. You can't say they didn't get paid. Then on the other conversation, you say they bought their loved ones. Not only did they get paid, some had their own business after their workday. And you did have blacks that received 50 acres of land for every settler that they sponsored here to the United States. But up and up, slavery was not illegal. Africans got rid of their riffraff for many reasons, especially for the crimes and atrocities that they committed there on the land. They still do that today. They was doing that before they even met anybody from Europe. So if anything, according to them, the sins of the father follow the son. So today's black owe those tribes reparations. Today. I mean, think. So, I had some more notes here so I could go on. And I would discuss point by point. I'm not going to, you can't get in these time machines and travel all the way back to Julius Caesar. Well, some people can. I mean, good for them.
Yes, sir. By way of citizenship, what is being discussed here is not about civil rights. It was a violation of human rights. In that context, the violation of human rights, that is where the slave owners and this country can be charged with a violation not of citizen rights, of human rights.
Well, if I can answer that, there was no human rights declaration back in the 17th century. Matter of fact, even today, I doubt if in the last time I checked, the United States present government has not signed on to a human rights declaration for a simple reason: we have a constitution. And some of the things in the Human Rights Declaration goes against the United States Constitution. Like they're saying that a child has more a say-so over his parents. Well, that's not right. That's not the way it goes here in the United States. So there was no Human Rights Declaration back at that time. Matter of fact, Armenia tried to get Obama to go along with their charging of genocide against Turkey during the Ottoman period. Well, there was no terminology. You talk about Webster Dictionary, there was no terminology called genocide. They came in 1948 with a person by the name of Raphael Lemkin. And what then was the League of Nations, now it's called the United Nations. There was no genocide back in the 1700s.
Murder is murder. There is no statute of limitation on murder. There isn't a time element attached to the crime of murder. Whatever era it occurred, that makes that a legitimate charge to be charged or even answered for. There is no statute of limitation nor time frame tied to the crime of murder. So to say, well, they didn't have, excuse me?
It wasn't me.
Yeah, so what we are discussing here is to me is human rights were violated. Naima, do you have anyone else that would like to share? Because I've got two callers here on this line.
We're going to sisters who want to make a comment. We're going to when we take a break, we're going to speak during the break, and then we're going to do a 30-minute after show to reflect on what we've heard. I think that the issues that have been raised require some really serious thought, because as upset as we are over slavery, there's a whole lot of people that were involved, and it's not just a black and white issue. And as Warren pointed out, some legalities, and as Pianki pointed out, there's some history that goes into whether or not this could actually ever happen for the descendants of those who were enslaved. So if you'd like, you can take a caller from your line, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll be right back.
Okay. Area code 727-408. Bilal, assalamu alaikum.
Well, look at my time. Praise be to Allah. Allahu Akbar. This is a very serious conversation, and we're not listening. To myself, I think I never got off to the thought about reparations, and so I see it was good for me that I didn't get in that conversation. But it's something like just to believe in people, believe in God, feel themselves accountable to God. This is for y'all. I want to give y'all this. What is our inheritance in America? We will know more when we have more persons committed to our intelligentsia. We have the right to own property, so we grow and get the things we need. I would like to reflect sincerity. Trust in God brings prosperity. We should have the life that God created for us. Creation is a trust. Oppression is worse than slaughter. Good deeds for a better tomorrow. We have revelation by the heart and mind. See God's mercy when we cross the line. Islam is my reparation. I have the right to practice my religion. Talk to our potential. Think rational. Common sense is practical. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you, Bilal. That spoke to the issue also. Okay.
All right.
All right. So if we can take a break now, if we can take a quick break now and come back about 3 minutes and take some more calls and hear from some more of our guests. All right.
All right. I'm trying to locate your number.
I thought I pressed one. Yeah, I thought I pressed one so you could see it. 312-721.
Okay, I have it here. All right, thank you. We'll pause now for some important public service announcements. We have to hear everyone. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back in a while. God willing, inshallah.
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're 3 Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also 3 sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're 3 Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, 3 Black Moms. Okay, and all right. So now what we want to do for those who All right, we've got a conversation with a few of our listeners. 813-646, is that Rashida?
No, it's LA.
Oh, okay, Ellie. Okay, hold on. Let me bring you on after the break. Hold on. All right, and 773-737, I believe that's Mama D.
Yes, women can't talk today, can they?
Well, we're going to talk during the break, and then we're going to do an after show and talk about what the men said. What they
should focus on is the United States apologized for the slavery and Jim Crow genocide on June 18, 2009. But we are crimes against humanity descendants, and they admitted all the stuff that they had done against us. March 7th marks the 266th anniversary of the Dred Scott Supreme Court decision of 1857 that ruled we had no rights. Only the red man and the black man could be born in America and not be citizens in the land of their birth until the 14th Amendment changed that, and it was for the red man and the black man, the savage and the slave. And that is constitutional. So to say we don't have the right kind of language is ridiculous, especially when they gave reparations to the border breakers, children who we didn't cause no damage to them. So how did they get the government the leg up of development, relief, and education, free graduate school, and they are aliens under the age of 31, amnesty for many crimes? That's what we should be demanding. That Joe Biden do exactly what Barack Obama did and give our young people under the age of 31 a government the leg up dream act.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. The point you're making, of course, there was something that Warren Houston stated, which came from the history of the United States giving reparations. It was connected to those who had been wronged during war times, which one thing that happened, you had an economic policy, or even you can say a political policy, with some of the African nations that were selling off their prisoners of war. They were, as Bianchi said, they were selling off people who they didn't want in the country. But this is the reality, though. There were a lot of people that benefited from this and participated in it, and slavery was a private enterprise. It wasn't, the government wasn't involved in that. So there really is no legal precedent for them to pay.
America was not America.
That's the point.
Relevant.
That's the point. That
America is responsible for 89 years of crimes against humanity.
But this was private. This was privately owned. This was a private enterprise. It wasn't a government-owned enterprise. The slaveholders, those who were holding people captive, that was a private business. It was not owned by the government.
Let's deal with the facts. Let's just deal with
That's the fact.
The facts of this. America became America in 1776, and they had their own institutional enslavement from 18.
But the government didn't own slaves. Private business people owned slaves. The people who owned the plantations. It was not the government.
I'm talking about the laws of the United States.
That's what I'm saying.
From 1776, when America became a government.
Right.
We're not talking about Great Britain anymore. We're not talking about 1619 anymore. 1776 to 1865. 89 years of American laws, and if you go back to March 7th, 1857, the Dred Scott decision, it was a Supreme Court decision, and it was the government that said blacks are a subjugated race with no rights. This was under America.
But the government, well, Mama D, we got to go back from the hold on, because we got to come back from the commercial break and join the show. But we're gonna talk about this on the after show, so stay with us. And Lois, also hold on, because I mean we had some real issues here. do we have a legal precedent to actually ask for reparations? Yeah, it was immoral, but was it illegal? That's the issue.
And they said they admitted the crimes against humanity. It was determined that they gave reparations to some non-citizens who we did not injure. We are just so injured until
Well, did they call it reparations though? Maybe we need to call it something else because I don't know if we can legally call it reparations. Anyway, we got to go back, but we will be returning to our program and listening to those who are having this conversation. All right, here we go. Okay, we are back. And you're listening to and watching The Female Solution. All right, and we have LA on the line who wants to speak as well. If you'd like me to open his mic.
Yes, please, if you would.
All right, go right ahead, LA. Your mic is open.
Yeah. Just real quick, I co-sign on what Warren Houston said. I mean, if you're going to get a legal definition of reparations, I would suggest get which is online for free, Black's Law or Legal Dictionary, and that will give you a definition of a legal definition of reparations. Just real quick, Martin Luther King didn't tell the whole story, and I don't know if he knew the whole story when he said, "We come and get our check." There were land rushes in which Black folks, former slaves, did get land, and many of them formed after they got. I mean, some of them got 80 acres land, some of them got 50 acres land. Many of them formed their own townships, which are historic Black townships here in the United States. I think we got up to a total of 1,200 Black townships. We might be down to about 700 to 900 Black townships, which are over 100 years old, which still exist to this day. Hopkins Park is one of them. Up in Illinois, that's not quite 100 years old, but Brooklyn, Illinois is one of them. Edenville, Florida, which is 45 minutes away from me, that's another one of them. Now, Viata Robinson, who's the host here on The Female Solution on Friday, she interviewed somebody last year that, speaking of reparations, they got 12 people together and they bought like 110 acres of land in Georgia. And then there's 3 Black women that live in Metro Atlanta during the pandemic that they got together. They got 19 families together and bought 97 acres of land. Now they're up to 502 acres of land forming their own town. So I'll land my plane on this. Nobody's going to repair us. Only we can repair us. And I think, like I say, if you talk to Viata Robinson, even Maivia Bellows, I think she lives in either Pembroke or Hopkins Park, Illinois. Those are historic Black communities. So you can wait on the government to heal you, but I think the quickest way to do it is to heal yourself and go out and buy your own 40 acres of land. That's my comments.
All right.
I agree with you. No one can do for us what we ourselves have to do for ourselves. But at the same time, we have financial institutions, huge houses of finance, whose very foundation was built on slave trafficking. You mean to tell me that we should just say, well, all right, keep what you stole, and we'll just go on forward from here. Now, I'm only saying that the importance of admitting and saying what happened is very therapeutic. And at least, I say, don't try to distort fact. Reality. This country was built on the institution of slavery. And human beings were robbed of their human potential, of their human worth. We have to admit that. And I do, let me say this. I remember
this government, they use several ploys to try to repair or provide reparations. The idea of affirmative action, they instituted affirmative action. That was fraught with flaws from the outset. That was offered, and they knew that that would not work. They know that other human beings would not sit still for that you give someone preferential treatment because of the color of their skin. They knew that would fail. And rightfully so, Caucasians pushed back against that. Also, government contract set aside. It was fraught with flaws. They offer these things that are created to fail. That are created to fail. That a certain portion of government contracts will be offered to minorities. Well, Caucasian women, they identified themselves as minorities. And Caucasian males used them to obtain those government set-asides. Both of those so-called remedies were created to fail. Now, my concern is this, that let's say that the money is given. Let's say $20,000 to everyone that is a descendant of American slavery. My concern is this. We do not have the economy to absorb that money. We do not have an economy to absorb that money. It would go almost immediately right back outside of the African American community. That's my concern.
Could I say something? You know, I was a builder in the St. Louis area. I put up many of the office buildings that you see in St. Louis all the way out to over in southern Illinois, all the way out to Chesterfield. They don't have no what you call set-asides for quote minorities. That there is a fallacy.
No, well, no, not now. Not now, but I read.
Well, what do you mean not now? I'm still. Wait a minute. Now, hang on for a second. I've lived it. I've done this. So I wasn't born in the 80s. There wasn't no terminology about minority participation back in the 1800s. When I'm telling you that they had no such thing as a set-aside, when I was building buildings, I had to put in competitive bids. And the whole thing about affirmative action was to make sure that you try to include everybody that wanted to be at the table. Eddie Hassan talks about that because they were with Mocan and they structured it like that and tried to police it to make sure it was going on. The most buildings I've done was private entity. St. Peter's Mall was not no government job. I had office buildings out there on 141 in Chesterfield. Those wasn't government jobs. I mean, I think that there are some legitimate reparation claims. I can name one or maybe two. One is with Joe Lewis. The way our IRS done him, that was terribly wrong. Jackie Robinson too, with that one city in Texas, I can't think of the name of it right now, but that there was a case where he should have been, his family should be compensated for what he suffered. But this thing about slavery, no, then what you're doing, the United States government, the federal government, had nothing to do with Jim Crow. And the federal government didn't benefit financially from slavery. There was no taxation other than an import tax because there was commodities just like anything else. And then too, look at the white men and boys that gave their life fighting for the North, and the numbers about 300,000 or more. Do they families get reparations too? If I may.
Yes, please.
And can you say your name so we can put it on the screen? Can you say your name, please?
William Karriem.
Okay, thank you.
William Karriem. Okay. First of all, I think that we always have to start from the basic idea of what is reparations, and that's where Webster's dictionary came in, so that everybody could understand it. Now, when you go to a court of law, sure, they make word salad of it, and they say, well, this here is the legal definition regarding that. But the question becomes that the government did make a presentation that said we were going to give each slave 40 acres and a mule. They reneged on that. My question is, are there any cases in the legal system that have made efforts to address the issue of reparations on the basis of the injustices that have been done to African American people? We know that it has been done, but are there any cases? Because everybody's talking, but I don't hear anybody quoting cases as far as efforts that are being made in the legal system, whereas the issue can be addressed. I would really like to hear that. Mm-hmm. You had a court case there in Chicago recent where you had Deidre Farmer-Pelman and some other than Judge Posner's court. I think it's the Ninth Appellate, I'm not sure. It originated out of California. You had a court case there in Chicago of recent, and Posner dismissed that he was trying to sue railroads and corporations. And they dismissed it with prejudice. I mean, you can bring it back up if you want to. But one of the questions that the judge asked, and see, here's another thing. Today, blacks are mixed. Frederick Douglass, he had a white father and a black mother. So if $20,000 awarded, does he get just 10? Booker T. Washington, does he just get 10? Du Bois, does he just get 10? Derek Jeter, does he just get 10? No, don't stop me, please. I just see another way you going. Let me finish saying what I got to say. I mean, listen, a lot of this came out of the court case. A lot of this came out of the court case. Well, sir, why do you look? If y'all don't want me on the program, everybody say yay, and I'll leave.
Let us please let us remain civil with each other. Let us respect each other. This is reflective of African American males. That's why we have this type of program the last Wednesday of each month. The only requirement is that we be gut level honest and we do not embellish ourselves. So let us remain civil with each other and respectful of each other.
Can I finish? If it's okay with you, Karriem?
Yes, sir. If you can complete your thought, and
I'm going to briefly run out of 21. But like you said,
let me manage this clock.
Yeah.
Please, let me manage the clock. All right, clear, my brother.
Okay, all right. I know Doc and Robert, they kind of get into it. I got some gumbo and some rice crackers. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't know I was still on. Okay.
I hear you speak of gumbo. Make me hungry. Okay. But as I was speaking last, if you would please your thought. Then we want to hear from Henry.
Thank you very much.
From William Karriem, and then Henry Hameed, and the Abdul Shaheed. We haven't heard from him only once. That was his opening statement. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, as LA said, with the land rush out west in Oklahoma Territory, and by the way, Oklahoma Territory belongs to the Creeks. In many places, it still belongs to the Creeks. The land that you talk about, Black Wall Street, that was Creek land that they made a deal with, I can't think of it, Dudley, I think the man's name. Sarah Rector, who was the richest Black female during that time, at 12 years old, she was in eastern Oklahoma, which was still, she was a Creek Indian. Bass Reed, he was a Creek Indian. Jake Simmons, he was a Creek Indian. He was not a native, none of them was native Black people, but we tried to claim them. So there was land rushes where Blacks had, like LA said, and he knows more about it than I do, they had settlements. And some of them still exist today, like town. You had land that was put aside by Richard Nixon at the behest of Harvey Gantt and Floyd McKissick there in North Carolina, Winston-Salem, which was called Soul City. Brooklyn, Illinois is right across the river from St. Louis. Whitworth, Texas, out there in California. And to say that they ran highways through that took away Black cities, when they ran, you had Route 66 that started in Illinois and ended up in California. And along the way, you had cities that, as that passed through many states, everything from Illinois, Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas. And then when the U.S. put in the interstate highway system with Interstate 15, it cut those towns off. That's what Blacks say happened to it. Cut those white towns off. So they suffered also. I'll stop right there.
Okay. All right. William, if you would please, then next I want to hear from Abdul Shaheed. We haven't heard from him. Other than
I'm going to put his statement. Yes, I'm going to put the question out there again. The 40 acres and a mule is a legitimate situation that the government said that they were going to do for each slave that was freed. And it was rescinded. That's a legitimate claim. And the government has not fulfilled that. And the government should. My question again is, that was government involvement. And in all of these things, as far as reparations or injustices, the government has been involved in it. And, they don't correct it. Are there cases in the legal system that have made efforts to address the issue on the basis of the injustice that has been done? Nobody is quoting that. I'll say that nobody is quoting that. We know that today there are some things that are being done in states, but that is what we really need to focus on. What are the cases in the legal system that are making the efforts to address that issue?
Okay, Abdul Shaheed. Abdul Shaheed, you're up next. Take your phone off of mute. Abdul Shaheed. Okay, we'll move forward. Brother Henry Hameed.
Assalamu alaikum. I wish I could get you some of this good old Southern-made homemade gumbo here that we got. That maybe got meat tie. But I think the discussion is good. I think we need the pros and the cons. We have to look at both sides. So we need that. And just because you take one side or another, don't mean that you are not reachable and that you won't refuse to listen to the other. But I think some of the things, and I heard the brother say that he did contract and they had no set aside. Well, I do appraisals, and they don't have any set aside for me either. But I will say that the discrepancy that I have faced in the appraisal industry is real. And I cannot deny that there. So even though that there was no set aside, there was a lot of things that prevented us from doing what we should have been able to do. If we were of a different color, we would have had the opportunity to do. So that's no denying that. But I think issues like that could be debated. It should be debated. I think one should take the opposing and one should take the affirmative side of the issue so we can see how they play out. So I don't have any problem with that. But the thing that I find out that a lot of us who may have been used as sometimes referred to as a token in this society, and I have to admit that I have been tried to be used by others as a token, but I refused. And because I refused, then of course a lot of things were denied to me because I didn't want to be the token. So I know that we have a lot of out here that will, not that the brother is, he may be legitimate, but I do know that there's a lot of tokens that out here that will deny that discrimination ever existed or even exists. That the Negroes should pull up themselves by their bootstrap there, and Dr. King addressed that in his talk, and Booker T. Washington addressed that in his comments here. That no, we're not going to sit down and wait for others to lift us up. Yeah, we're going to try it. We're going to keep working at lifting, but we won't deny that there's others that as we're trying to lift ourselves up, is trying to keep us down even in 2023. In February 2023. Our condition in our communities is not solely because that we want to live in slums and projects, and if the government, well, I guess that then if the government don't provide for us, we're not capable of providing for ourselves. I don't take that attitude about anything. And I think we have to debate these issues so we can come up with solutions as to how we move forward. As we're doing with other things there. The 50-year solution, I think, is a great thing. And as we look at how we can make these progress with or without the help of other people. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you, Brother Henry.
It's time for us to take our last break. Assalamu alaikum. It's time for us to take our last break. And then we can come back to our callers. So if you will.
Okay.
So just
all right.
You see where my number is? 312721.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll be right back after this quick break. So stick and stay. Don't stray away. Be back in a moment. Stay with us. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Karriem Hameed. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.
Our kids are the future and should not be left behind. One person should not decide what is.
All righty. And we are on a quick break, and we're on our Facebook page. So, one of the things, we got a few minutes before we get back to the conversation, but one of the things that I'm hearing, Mama D and Lois, who's on the line, one of the things that I'm hearing is that there were, we could say, crimes against humanity, but the question is, who's responsible for those crimes? Who do we hold responsible? Can we hold the U.S. government responsible when it was private citizens? And it was private citizens on both sides of the Atlantic. I mean, there were African nations who participated.
And hold the government accountable because they have admitted what they did on June 18, 2009. And they apologized for it, the Senate and the Congress. They admitted it.
And that might be as far as they go, saying, yeah, we did it, we're sorry. But I mean, okay, who actually?
No. What I'm saying is the U.S. Scott decision,
right,
March 7, 1857, said blacks have no rights. The Supreme Court decision of 1954 was ruled unconstitutional because it only existed to keep the status of the Negro down. So we're talking about heart and mind damage that they admitted caused.
And what about those who say, well, okay, we gave you affirmative action, you should have got yourself together? Some of you all did.
No, they didn't give us the affirmative action. They said these are crimes against humanity. The United Nations has moved on it. America has a law called the Genocide Accountability Act of 2007, and that is under America. Genocide has definite definitions that did not exist until 1946, when they had the Convention on the Prevention of the Crime and Punishment for Genocide, and it gives you the definition. But we have that untreated heart and mind damage that they admitted in 1954 and did nothing about.
Well, question is, who's responsible? And I think that's where the argument comes.
They are. The Supreme Court makes the rules for the government of the United States. They said.
Has anybody called the slave experience genocide in the same way that the Native Americans were acknowledged to have experienced genocide?
Only two groups could be born in America and not be citizens in the land of their birth until the 14th Amendment. We need to stop getting the emotions back and back. We don't have the facts.
Well, we've had several generations, and at this point, it becomes difficult to pinpoint who would even qualify. But anyway, hold that thought. We're going to come back to the show, and we're going to continue this at 9 o'clock. So hold on if you can. We'll be right back. We're going to go back to our show, and we'll be right back. So stay with us. All right, and we are back. Okay, we're back.
And yes, I would love to hear from Abdul Shaheed. I haven't heard from him since his opening statement. From Brother Abdul Shaheed, if you would share with us, please, on this issue.
Yes, sir. That's all I can. Yes, my phone dropped, and I wasn't able to hear you earlier, but I'm back. Certainly appreciate the opportunity. It's very important that we listen to both sides of this equation. I think this is a good effort for us, so we can think about all these different solutions that we need to be putting on the table. We know that our people have been harmed. And it's almost like the harm has not stopped. It didn't stop with the Emancipation Proclamation. It continued even to this day, the discrimination and all of the degradation and all the other different things that we need to take charge of. So it's good that we're talking about reparations. It's good that we're speaking about the problems. And I think what we have to do is just keep coming together to solve our own problem. We're not waiting for the government to give us money. We're not waiting for the government to repair us. We've been working all this time. But there are forces in America that try to prevent us from making the progress we need to make. So we have to put more effort into educating ourselves. And I think this is where the crux of the problem is. We're allowing others to educate us, to educate our children, to take their mind and expect us to make progress. We have to make the effort to educate our own, come up with our own curriculum, all these things. We have to be more responsible for our health and what's happening with our mental health. We have to be responsible for these things. How is a person to overcome the obstacle in life when they have many mental issues? Many of our people are experiencing mental illness, and they're in jail because they have mental issues. So we have a system in place that's very difficult to navigate, and we have to educate ourselves about how to navigate this place called America. And we have to put focus on our people's health. The effects of slavery has put us in a bad situation as far as our health is concerned. Whereas now, generational health been denied of many of our people. So we have to, there's so much for us to do and so much for us to learn, but we are capable of overcoming every obstacle that's been placed in front of us. We've already proven that. So I think conversation like we're having this morning is excellent for us to pay more attention to what we have to do and continue to come together to overcome these obstacles, because that's all they are, to help us to produce the best person, the best that will come out of all of us. We know our people have the wherewithal inside of us already. The Almighty has placed a solution inside of each and every one of us. And we have to continue to make our contribution to solving the problem of the effects of slavery here in America. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I agree with him.
I wish that
I agree with him.
yes, if we can click the switch from just being consumed, from just being consumed, we control a lot of wealth, but we're in a consuming frame of mind. We are somewhat still wards of the state with all of this consumer power that we have. And I'm grateful that we are speaking to each other on material needs. On material needs. Because when you deprive someone of their material needs, then you are affecting them mentally, emotionally, and in almost every capacity. When they are denied physical sustenance, there's no denying where the wealth of this country came from. There's no denying that. But we aren't waiting on the government to help us. But it would be a good gesture if these houses of finance, mortgage, the house of mortgage, the Rothschild, they benefited tremendously from the international slave trade. And we can't act like that they did not benefit, and that we are somewhat wrong. There's something wrong with us to want them to share that material wealth with the victims of a heinous human rights crime. There's nothing wrong with that. And we should not be apologists for the criminals. This was a crime against humanity. And don't tell me you don't say something.
Before you make a statement, Karriem, there you got another caller that'd like to speak. Kofi James, if you'd like me to open his mic to make a comment.
Oh, yes, I have a Yes, how you guys doing? Excellent conversation. There is things happening. You look at, I'm watching it go down. There's some things that are going on, and I'm one of the truth bearers. When this governor of Florida, Santo, he stopped the African American curriculum, they have just set us free. They just set us free. They don't want to teach us lies anymore. They see us teaching the truth all over the internet, and it's like, you know what? Let's cancel this fake, these lies we've been teaching these people. They know who they are. We have just been set free. That's how I look at it. Do you see this? Do you see that what they're doing? They're letting us free. They know we're educating ourselves now. They see it on the internet. We're using social media to teach each other, to teach our families how we used to be. We're teaching the ethics, and we're looking back. We're showing pictures of our grandmama. We're showing all the before slavery. Who were we? We're showing the land. We're connected with African people, you know, and other races are applauding. They're applauding us. They see that we want better for ourselves. And you're right. I've been doing it for 13 years, man. And these young kids, man, they're finally getting it. They're reading the word. They're trying to figure out who am I? Why am I so special? Why is the world talking about me so much? There must be something about me. All these inventors, you know, Black History Month, we talk about these inventors. These weren't just inventors. They actually created a global economy. When they created the mailbox, that created a global post office industry around the world. Air conditioner. They know who we are. We're finally realizing, you know what? We're the offsprings of these people. There must be something special about us as well. And I think, man, the light is on, man. You talk about that switch. I think somebody heard that switch on. All right. What do you think about them letting us go with the African curriculum ending that? Do you see it as a sign of letting us go? That's my question. That I see that as we have to tell our own story. Yes. We have to tell our own story and not rely on others to tell our story for us.
Can I say something else, Karriem?
Yes, sir.
Now, I have to push back when people say slaves built America. Slaves did not build America. Slaves was labor in the South. How can you build something where you are that you didn't build where you came from? Even today, things are not there. That's a simple question. And when Sherman marched to the sea,
can I answer that?
Sure. Hang on for a second. Let me finish. When Sherman marched to the sea, you know, back there was no income. There was no income tax until 1913. There was no tax going to the government other than apportionment, which is divided up amongst the states and further divided up amongst the people in the state. And I think that should be going on today. But the things that I was going to add, they did, DeSantis and nobody else said that you couldn't have African history. Matter of fact, Howard University fired some teachers in their middle school that's designed to feed Black kids into Howard University, whereas they can maintain and hold on to the rigors of college. When they swayed off from the curriculum to start teaching Black history, Howard University, which is a Black university, they fired those teachers. I was the field coordinator for African-centered curriculum for the St. Louis chapter of the National Black United Front. We worked to put African-centered curriculum in many school districts: Kansas City, Detroit, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, D.C., all the way out to Los Angeles. The people did not want that. That's why companies don't exist today. Right. So your curriculum, wherever you want your curriculum to be in the state of Missouri, according to the statute, you can have whatever you want. But the big problem is this: your Black kids in these areas can't read. East St. Louis School District, the high school, less than 1% of all the high school students can read at a given level and do math. So you can have all the, how your kids gonna take this information if they can't read? And there's a difference between what we call Black history and AP Black studies. Look,
Well, I tell you, Kelly couldn't read.
Okay.
Can I say something real quick? They had just found hieroglyphics and sphinx in the Niagara Falls area. I'm here to prove. Hello? Can you hear me clear?
That was clear the way it was.
I think I have to close somebody's microphone. Karriem, somebody's mic needs to be closed.
Okay. I was trying to respond to that. Am I being heard?
Yes.
Yeah.
I can hear it, but that person is shouting, you know.
Yeah, somebody, Brother Karriem, you have to close somebody's mic who has stepped away from the program.
I have.
Okay.
Okay, their mic is closed. All right, go ahead, William, if you would.
Yeah, I can hear that. Yeah,
you're a mic, Julie.
Yeah, that's clear. Yeah, it's clear.
William. William? All right. Are you in a quiet area now? Oh, William, your mic is open.
Okay.
Can I comment again? I had another important topic. Wait a minute. Let's hear from William. So first, please, then you are on next, my brother.
Yeah.
Okay, William, Karriem.
Thank you. Thank you for considering me, especially as far as being part of the panel. There's a lot has been said. I'm truly interested in what's going on in the legal system to address the issue, because that's the only place that it can be addressed, as far as, and especially as far as the 40 acres and a mule situation, the reparations situation it has been addressed in the legal system. And, I think that, as a community of people, I think that, we need to know if there are still efforts being done in the legal system to address reparations. We know that there's some things going on as far as the states is concerned, but, that kind of idea should continue, because at least that will give us some hope for the 40 acres of mule. And I want my 40 acres of mule because my family was in Portsmouth, Virginia. They didn't get their 40 acres of mule. They had to leave Virginia in order to come up to New York in order to, continue to survive. So that's what I'm.
All right, thank you. All right, Keontae, you're next. I believe that was you that was asking.
Well, I basically said what I had to say during the time, but I hear all these claims, and I can understand where a lot of people get this stuff. Europeans did not go into the hinterland and steal people out of there. They didn't have to do that. Nigerians was trading between Nigeria and Senegal until with dugout canoes. They had no shipbuilding industry. When they seen the Portuguese large ships, they leased them out to haul their commodities, which included people, to Senegal back and forth. And you know, another thing too, Ghana had Portuguese as slaves in some of the ports that they have along the coastal line. So, but the thing is that there's opportunities galore today. Education, you know, the National Society of Black Engineers, you go on their website, they have over 11,000 openings for a STEM position. And I'm not talking about openings that was placed 2 or 3 years ago. Some of them is recent as 30 days ago. Educate your kids. It's a shame that these black kids are not given the education that they should have, whereas they can compete. And you know one other thing, real quick. I often not go along with Umar Johnson, but he said something that I just recently heard. He is very critical of the fact that they're bringing Ukrainian refugees into the United States and putting them on Social Security and SSI. That is totally ridiculous. Where is the outcry for that? We marched down to Tallahassee, Florida, with some fictitious and mythical stuff. Where is the outcry for that?
Mm-hmm. So, we have to, when we got our own call, can I respond to that? Yes, go ahead, please. It's Kofi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. The way I'm inspired, I'm looking at what's going on in America. We didn't come from Africa. We was already here in this land. And once you get to that state, my children became geniuses. Okay? You understand? Away from that indoctrination. We have in hieroglyphics in Niagara Falls. They have a Sphinx head. It's on YouTube. Just go to Niagara Falls pyramid. There's more pyramids in America than it is in Africa. We were kings and queens right up in here. That's our home court advantage. And when I learned that as a kid, I did well in school because I realized mathematics and science came from us. And it made me think a little bit deeper. You understand? I was having problems with mathematics. I was having problems with science. But my mama said, yo, we created that. I said, what? And then all of a sudden, I got a new insight. You see, we were kings and queens right here. Okay? And we're going to keep leading you brothers and all that until y'all get that. Okay? Because that is the home court advantage. That is the power we have that nobody else has. Everybody wants to come to America. Yes, we have the corner stores, Arabs and all that. But you know what I look at it? If I'm a king, my family call me Prince. If we are kings and queens, they are here to serve us. Do you get that? Do you understand that understanding? They are serving us potato chips, Snickers, choo-choos, candy. Okay, they're serving us. We're paying you well. We're paying you $30,000 a week.
Okay, Kofi, let him speak. Kofi.
Countries far away. And come to the black community. Oh, I want to open up a shop in the black community. Yes, they are. Look at it like that. One day, we're going to start serving ourselves again. We will not use the derogatory identifier for other people. Calling people Arabs, Spanks, and Spicks, and niggers, and all of that. We should refrain from that type of identifying of human beings. We shouldn't do that. That's what I wanted to say, that we should not use offensive nicknames for other human beings. Let me say this, and the conditions that we see the continent of Africa in, it is a growing, praise to Allah, it is a growing continent. And at the same time, we have to realize that Africa was colonized was colonized by colonizers, and they even enslaved the Africans. They enslaved them. That's why we see such a deplorable condition in some parts of Africa, not all of them. Some parts of Africa is very progressive, very modern, huge buildings and all of that. But Africa is coming out from under the 300 to 400 years of colonization. We have to realize that what they found in Africa, there were huge cities, there were governments, there were educational facilities in Africa. But Africa was colonized by the colonizer. We were not the only ones enslaved. Large portions of Africa were enslaved to working extracting mineral resources, the gold, the diamonds, oil. Africa is coming out of that. Praise be to Almighty God, and we should be in lockstep with Him. We are coming from out of colonization, and you are so correct in that we have the ability now with this internet to educate ourselves and our children. Not just relying on
Victory. I thought that this was I thought this was a show about reparations. And it would have really been great if everybody had focused on reparations. But, I appreciate the effort. But I think that, everybody brought so many different, things that from it into the conversation that I don't know if we really even addressed the issue.
Well, we did. We still hear a collage of thoughts. We won't just hear one train of thought. We will hear a huge collage and a diversion of thought. Praise be to Almighty God for that.
Assalamu alaikum. We got about 30 seconds before we leave the air, and I want to let people know if you're on our switchboard, we'll be on for the after show. Stay on. We'll give your comments, and if you want to call in real quick, 515-605-9325. Or join us on Facebook Live or YouTube at The Female Solution. I'm Naima Latif. And of course, you've been listening to Karriem Hameed. And this is Men Only discussion. Should the government pay blacks reparations for slavery? We'll continue this discussion in the after show. So stay with us.
To everyone that participated in this
Okay. And we are continuing with the after show. After this quick break, we're going to play our ending, and then we'll be right back. Well, let's see. You know what? Let's just pause for the cause. We'll be back after this quick break, so stick and stay. Don't stray away. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Karriem Hameed. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution. All right, we are now in the after show, and we have been listening to our monthly Men Only discussion hosted by Karriem Hameed. And the question was asked, should the government pay Blacks born in America reparations for slavery? Well, there is some realities to the fact that there were some atrocities committed. The question is who's responsible, and therefore who could be sued? Because we're talking about a legal issue. And as our legal expert, Warren Houston, reminded us, legally, when the government pays reparations, they're paying something that happened as a result of a wartime crime or impropriety, such as the Japanese internment during World War II. And even with Native Americans, the wartime atrocities that were committed. But with African people, our transport here was part of an international trade policy involving African nations that negotiated with private enterprises and sold people, whether it was a political expedient thing to get rid of prisoners of war, whatever the case may be. The fact of the matter is that here we had a policy that was not initiated by the government, but was a private enterprise that many who sat in positions of government participated in. So who is owed who by whom, and how do you sue? So that's the issue. And we're going to open up some mics and get your comments, and press 1 if you, I think just about everybody got something to say. So let me take somebody who hasn't spoken yet. 779-801. I believe we got our sister Maika on the line. Grand Rising. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you so very much for calling in. Give us your thoughts.
Grand Rising.
Yes.
I was asleep during most of the show. I apologize, but I woke up on Piante saying, "What about all this money they giving to these Ukrainians?" And I agree. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, where is this money coming from? Who is being? We didn't know that all this money was available. $1 million here, $1 million there. We didn't know that money was available to give out freely to people. I think that the money should, there's a saying, charity begins at home and spreads abroad, but a lot of people miss that. I don't know what that is. We need to shore up American before we start taking care of other refugees and stuff like that. And as Johnny Rogers was saying on the show recently, we were prisoners of war. I don't know if Warren spoke to that or not, but we were prisoners of war. It was a war in a sense. It was a war on Africa. And it was a declared war, but it was a war on Africa. So I think we need to really get on top of our government in terms of how they just freely spend taxpayers' dollars the way they want to. As a matter of fact, I was just thinking I need to go see where Biden's family tree is. He may be a Ukrainian. I don't know. This may be nepotism. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it's a political move.
It's much more.
It's definitely a political move. It's a political move against Russia.
Getting ready to get us in a war with Russia too, with all his prostrating and all of that. I don't like that. How can these people tell China not to support Russia and they were supporting Ukraine? I don't get all this crazy talk. It's just too much craziness for me to really comprehend. So those are my comments on that.
Well, thank you so much for those comments. And I think we got to look at this, because a war can't happen unless the people participate. And why are we going off to kill someone else? Well, because we're hired. Armies that's a paid profession. The military is a paid profession. So you had people who were hired to go and raid communities in Africa. They were paid to go and capture people. It's the same thing. if you're hired to do a job, you do the job. So when people get into the military, they're hired to do a job, whether that job is killing, capturing, whatever, that's a job. So in a sense, what you said, yes, there was a war. There was a war because people were hired by the government that was doing business with private companies. The shipping industry, that was a business. The insurance companies that insured the ships, that was a business. The companies that built the ships, that was a business. You had people hired to sell the ships, that was a business. So all these business enterprises went into the slave trading business. And then you had people who owned land, and that land was stolen, as we understand. It was stolen from the native people who were here first. But then they were owning land that the United States, or even before the United States was a total union, they were owning land, and they purchased the people brought over in ships as part of a private enterprise that the nations of Africa, the heads of those nations, organized in order to happen. And they made a decision, just like President Biden just made a decision. They made a decision to export people who were political prisoners of war, who were prisoners of wars that they were having among themselves with nations that they were seeking to dominate. So they made a political decision. They made an economic decision, just like Biden. President Biden is making a political decision and an economic decision. This is what nations do. So who are we now holding responsible for what happened to the ancestors that many of us descended from, who were captured and imprisoned and transported and forced to work at gunpoint? And now we're saying, these are my great great grandparents, you owe me. But who owes? Who are we holding responsible? Who do we believe is responsible? And I think from what we heard today, the people that we want to make responsible aren't really legally responsible, and that is the U.S. government. Legally.
And now, can I say something else?
Yes, go right ahead. The mic is still open, and I'm going to open up Mama D's mic again. I know she's got a comment.
We have created some policies. And Karriem, you know, in St. Louis, they brought 30,000, then 50,000 Bosnians from the Bosnian-Serbian War. They got Serbs in St. Louis too, in the St. Louis area.
I think Karriem has disconnected from us. AM 360 goes off at 9.
I'll talk to you.
But let me open a mic for Mama D, because she's got a comment that I think.
have had 2 hours. Now, no taxation, no
Well, hold that thought, Bianchi. Mama D has a comment. She's been chomping at the bit today. Go right ahead, Mama D.
No taxation without reparation. Were the slaves taxed or not? There was no war in Vietnam. It was called an era. There was no war in Korea. It was called a conflict. Now, under the Genocide Accountability Act of 2007, which America put out, that's what we need to hold them accountable for. March 7, 2023 will mark the 266th anniversary of the Dred Scott decision that ruled blacks, not everybody, not people of color, have no rights that whites are bound to respect. That was under the United States Supreme Court. Okay, can I get off here, please?
Yeah, go right ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, something.
In 1954, that they had called car and mind damage, which is a definition for genocide, and every single category of that definition we fit into. And they said it was unconstitutional because it only existed to keep the segregation law, to keep the status of the Negro down, not anybody else. And in addition to that, the United Nations voted. They voted slavery a crime against humanity, said it always has been, and they recommended reparations for descendants on September 4th, 2001. And in June 18th, 2009, the United States Senate and the United States Congress issued an apology admitting all that they had done, taking us from our land, taking our labor. They admitted every single thing that they have done, but yet they turned around and gave reparations to some non-citizens, children who had broken into this country, and they said, well, it was through no fault that they owned. It was through the fault of their parents who brought them over here. But when it comes to us coming in shame, nobody has ever said it was through no fault of your own. We didn't enter those children of the border breakers that got governmental leg up of development, relief, and education. They go to graduate school for free. For who? Aliens and this sister, minors under the age of 31. Not just that, but amnesty from any crime that's not federal, and exemption from student loans and student debt that American students are drowning in. So what we need to do now is demand that Joe Biden do for the NAA, Indigenous Native American Africans, what they did for the border breakers children, and give us that governmental leg up. And because they boast about, oh wow, what a governmental boom we have received since we got that Dream Act. So,
well, let me ask you this, Mama D. Let me ask you this, Mama D, because Karriem did make this point, and it's something that I observed when everybody got their stimulus check. If you don't have an economy that you can circulate money, then even if people gave, even if every Black person descending from someone they could document as having been on a plantation and enslaved, and Kofi said there was no one that ever worked at gunpoint. Well, Kofi, that's not historically correct, because I can name you some names and I know the gun points that they worked under. So, I mean, physically, you can go back now to some people who, you know, were forced to stay on a plantation at the threat of, that's the whole patroller system.
All we need is the name. What is your name? What part of Africa is Smith, Jones, and Robinson for? We have the slave owners' name.
But now the question, Mama D, though, the question is, even if we were given a check, if you don't have a way to circulate that money back to a community, then you'd be back broke within a year, and then still saying you all owe us, because that's what happened after people got the stimulus check.
Can I say something, Naima?
A check. We need to find out. You have to study sometimes to show yourself approved. Reparations is to make a people whole.
Well, I think somebody said nobody can make us whole. Nobody else can make us whole. We have to make ourselves whole. Nobody can fix what's broken inside of a person.
According to the law, we had a lawyer on. According to the law, the language is make the people whole. That is the legal language.
Can I say something, Naima?
Okay, well, hold that thought, Bianca. I'm gonna open the mic for somebody who hasn't spoken yet. Hold that thought, Mama D. I'm gonna open the mic for somebody who hasn't spoken yet. 312-671. I believe we got Minister Plump on the line.
We didn't think we had 2 hours to talk. That's not right to put.
Well, hold one quick second.
So be fair.
Just one quick second. Minister Plump, you got a moment to address this topic of should the government pay Blacks reparations for slavery? Now, I got a quick question for you, Minister Plump. For those who are feeling like, hold a thought. Wait a minute. Let me ask this question, Mama D. I need you to control yourself. I'm not going to close mics. I'm going to give people the opportunity to show their power of self-control. I'm not going to close anybody's mics.
2 hours.
I know that. Give me a moment to ask Minister Plump a question, because he hasn't spoken. So give me a moment.
But you should be fair.
Mama D.
Be fair.
I'm being fair.
I'm
being fair. I'm giving someone else a chance who has not spoken yet. Now, what I'm asking is, for those people who are feeling like the government owes reparations. But there are people who have taken advantage of whatever opportunities they had, and they have created institutions and they have created wealth. So if we're saying everybody who descendants from the enslavement experience should be repaired and made whole, does Oprah Winfrey, should she get reparations? Should Tyler Perry get reparations? Should Rihanna get reparations? Should hold it, I got this question. I'm gonna give Minister Plum a chance to answer this question, and then I'll go back to the rest of you all. So you have people who have great wealth and have made who have taken their education or whatever their experience, and they're now they're employing people. They have major industries, but they're Black and they may have had slave ancestry. Should they be included in the reparations?
You need to relax. Just relax, Dee. Let her manage the way.
I'm asking you all to show that you have self-control. I'm not going to close your mics. I asked that question to Minister Plump, whose mic I just opened. So Minister Plump, I'm going to give you a moment to answer that question. Then I'm going to go back to Mama D and Pianki. And anybody else who's on our switchboard who wants to press 1, I will give you a chance to speak. I know that, Mama D. I know.
Because we gave you 2 hours. You ought to hang up out of respect. Be fair to us.
Now, this is what I need for our people to recognize. When we are in control of ourselves, we survive and we thrive. When we are not, it doesn't make any difference what someone else gives us. We blow it because we are too emotional to think and strategize. And it's the same thing with money, reparations, and everything else. So, Minister Plump, what are your thoughts on that? Should those people who have wealth get reparations along with everybody else? What are your thoughts? Check your mute on your mic, Minister Plump. Are you with us?
Maybe. Yes, real nice long. Yes, I am here. May I speak now, Mama D, please? It's your brother.
I know it's my brother, but you had to.
All right. May I?
No, he wasn't on the whole 2 hours, Mama D.
Mama D, please, beloved. I'm your brother now. Come on. Respect is everything. Respect is everything. And I have something to share too. Dr. King used to say, get the language right. Now, I believe in reparations now. However, I also believe in Asiatic, indigenous, African American reparations. So that's a part of the solution. And I'm going to continue to share the solution. Black lives matters too. In your heart, the none but the pure and the righteous is going to see God. Now we hold ourselves accountable for the conditions of our communities. Support our efforts as we exercise change, and that going out to the whole world. You know, we have to be either part of the problem or part of the solution. Black education is the best part of our solution. Our health is our wealth. Brother Plump is happy, healthy, wealthy, and wise. However, I am a 23. So that means it's our time now as a people, especially the Black woman and the Black man, to stand up and protect the Black woman and protect and marry his wife and take care of his children. And for more information, brothers and sisters can keep in touch with me through the Harold Washington Foundation. Or call me direct at 312-671-2773. And let's get it on, because Dr. King was right when he said, let us get the language right. So we have to change the language and make it applicable for the whole world. And thank you, Naima. I love you, and I love you too, Mama D, and Naika, and the whole female community.
You all have a treasonably plump day. And let's find.
But thank you so much, Minister Plump. We appreciate you. Now, he said something, Mama D, which I think we got to take a look at. And he said being responsible. I think we have to take responsibility, not just right now, but if we're going to go back in the past, we have to take our families, our foreparents have to take responsibility for creating that condition in our native land that led to the wars, that led to the enslavement, that led to the economic policy of trading your people. Bianchi said, well, they were trading the undesirables. Whatever the situation was, there was a choice made. And who are we holding responsible when so many nations and so many business interests profited from that enterprise? Who can we now hold responsible and say the government must pay? If I would say, if we're going to go after reparations or being repaired, look at the families that own the land and bought the people, and whether it's the sugar industry, the tobacco industry, the cotton industry, are there still families that are owning these industries that are still wealthy, or are they not? What happened after the Civil War? Did they lose all the property? Are any of those original families that made money still making money? And if so, those would be the ones I would say would be the subject of a lawsuit if we could trace them back, if they still have money. But the government of the United States, they may have made laws that were unjust, but do they owe money? That's the question.
The federal government has it, but you know, in South Carolina, you had 30,000 plus slaves that was held by black plantation owners. In New Orleans, 28% of free blacks, which were mulattoes, owned slaves, and 80% of them were women.
Okay, so let's let Mama D respond to that. Mama D, what are your thoughts on the fact that you had private industries that profited from people, and that's where the money went? And I don't even think, somebody said income tax didn't even start till like 1900 something. So as far as taxes,
Income tax started in 1913.
So therefore the government wasn't even receiving taxes from the people that were working for free on those plantations. So is the government responsible for paying reparations, or is the government simply responsible for repairing the wrong laws? So hold on, Bianchi, give her a chance to respond. Go ahead, Mama D.
Let me correct one thing. When you say it was working free, you don't know that.
Yeah, we do. We do. You know, financial records are available. Yeah, we know.
The slave was taxed as 3/5 of a human being, and he was not represented. Now, I'm not talking about no income tax or whatever kind of tax, but they counted the slave as 3/5 of a human being. That is the government deciding to make that decision, and that is who is accountable under Genocide Accountability Act of 2007. It is the government. They're the ones that made the laws that said only the red man and the black man, the savage and the slave, could be born in America and not be citizens in the land of their birth until the 14th Amendment changed that and said if you were not born here, then you have to be naturalized to be here. Now, that is governmental law, and that is the Constitution, and that is what we are dealing with, the government.
So then constitutionally.
And you know what our problem is? We have not claimed the country that our ancestors built through the Crimes Against Humanity and Jim Crow genocide that was admitted in 1954. Untreated, hard mind, subjugated race, and poverty. They said that law only existed to keep the status of the Negro down. These were governmental laws like May 7th, 1957, Dred Scott decision. Rules, blacks have the right. That was a Supreme Court decision. That was legal. That was lawful. And that is why we hold
hold the government accountable. But I think some people are so full of self-hate that they want to find every excuse in the book not to have this government be accountable. You have not gotten over 355 years of federal laws against you as a group. You have never had anybody giving up the government to lay up. That was given to the dreamers in 2009. But they can apologize in 2009. But they give the reparations, the government to lay back to the children of border breakers. And so the fact that can change feelings. We cannot change that. We have always built up, made a way out of no way. And what happens? The government comes in and tears it all down, or terrorizes people. The organized arm of Ku Klux Klan government army on the people. And they always did that. We fought in every single solitary war. And every single time, the enemies of war was treated better than the people. Why is it the Germans could sit on the front of the train and then the black soldiers in the uniform had to sit in the back?
That's true.
Just treat us like they treat the enemies of the country.
That is true. I know my father testified to that. That's what's happening. That is exactly what happened. So that.
And they are still making excuses. Oh, well, you know, you ought to
you got 2 minutes.
You can play basketball like Michael Jordan, or you have other skills like Marian Anderson, then that is you as an individual. You have made it. But collectively, us as NAACP, Indigenous, Native American Africans, we have not been made whole, and it's not limited to a check out the torture victims that in Chicago, Illinois, that the people that was tortured in holding cells, like John Bird, check out what that reparation was. It was not only up to $100,000 in
Well, that sets a precedent. We gotta go now. We gotta go, people. We gotta go. I gotta leave. Gotta leave. You got 10 seconds. Say it quick, Bianchi. Say it quick.
If you got records to show that slaves didn't get paid, where's the records to show that these ancestors said it was okay for you to adjudicate for them in 2023? You don't have.
How far back do you want to go to prove injustice? You can go back and find anybody at fault for everything if you go back far enough, and that's the truth about humanity. So we've got to go. Thank you, Mama D, for hanging in with us. Thank you. We got Maika, and thank you. Lois was with us, and thank you, Kofi and Bianchi, and all of those, and of course, thank you, Warren and Mama AZ. Thank you for being with us. And where did I put my? Oh, here we go. All righty. Well, we've got to go, and we will see you all next time. You've been listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif. Join us tomorrow for Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. Get some of that reparations of your heart and mind damage right here on the Female Solution with Dr. Debbie Green. 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern, and wherever you are in the world, adjust your times. You can join us live and call in 515-605-9325 and press 1 when you're ready to speak, and we'll add you to our conversation. Until tomorrow, enjoy the rest of your day and continue to shine your light.
Our show today, but you can hear every show in the archives at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. You can also hear today's show on the Female Solution Facebook page. Go to www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. Leave your comments about today's show. You can always reach me on my website at www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Watch our TV shows, listen to radio shows, order our books, and be sure to get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in our global family listening from all around the world. We say thank you. To our family in China, Sheshe, India, Zanyaba, Japan, Arigato, Korea, Kamsamnida, Russia, Spasiba, Germany, Danke, Poland, Jeonkujeon, France, Merci, Spain, Gracias, Italy, Grazie, Egypt, Shukran, Ghana, Medasi, Nigeria, Eshe, South Africa, Nyabonga, Senegal, Geret, Kenya, Asante, Israel, Toda, Pakistan, Shukriya, Afghanistan, Tashakur, Saudi Arabia, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you. And may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.